So, how are you all? Everybody is fine. Uh, this lecture should be offline and it is planned actually from UGC Stride. I am thankful to the UGC Stride members for giving this opportunity to interact among the students. Just I want to know how many of the students are of science background. All are of science. Everybody from
Uh,
the graduation. Yes.
no, ma'am. Actually, it's a mixed batch, and
Okay.
we are running a transdisciplinary program. So in this batch, we have students from science background and from commerce
Okay.
side also, from different streams like chemistry and biotechnology, uh, uh, biomedical sciences. Like this, we have
Okay.
students.
Okay. Fine. Great. Yes. Today I am delivering the talk on safety measures in the laboratories. I think so. Everybody just go to their labs and work on to find the new things, even what is written in the manual. So this is the one of the important area we have to look on. I think so. We ignore sometime to follow the rules and the regulations when we are required or instructed by the teachers. Yes or no? Definitely, it is there today. We can, if it is instructed, just wear the lab coats and have your gloves with that and come in the lab. So, first of all, that would come in the mind. The question always come in the mind why we are doing so. So it is all about you. You are all around with the COVID-19 also. So with that, it's now very, very important as we have turned up in the online mode, but there is no competence of the real lab procedures and real lab working. So we are talking today what should be the safety measures we have to look on well while working, and yes, everybody with you in a team you are working in the lab. So I think so that how you can help others also, that also an important issue. So we talk about these all important measures today in the laboratory. So what do you think, why the safety practices are so much important um, in the laboratory? What do you think? Anybody? Yes. Anybody? Why it is so important? It's a very simple question. Why we are talking about the safety practices in the laboratory? Anybody? Okay, so let's go on and then we can ask more questions. So this is the brief outline of today's talk, and we are introducing why this safety practices we are talking on and what is its importance, and what kind of the practices we can implement as an individual, as well as yes, the teacher and the instructor of the lab, you always been instructed from them. So how to implement those practices and what should be the procedures, what kind of the five principles of the safety you should follow, the safe work practices, how you can have the awareness of the safety signs in the laboratory you are using chemicals or the electrical equipments. So what would be the emergency equipment you should follow, the chemical safety, the general safety, and what do you understand by the hazardous waste, and then we conclude all, in the last. So this is the brief outline of the presentation. Okay, so these are the questions come in the mind first. What is the safety measure, and why we are talking about why it is having so much importance, and how to do that. So what is the safety measure we can have to avoid uh, the accidents or reduce the risk related to the human health? These are the measures which we can say the activities and the precaution. You all know the precaution is better than the cure. Yes, definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So safety measures are what? These are the precautions to avoid the accidents while working and reduce the risks related to the human health. And nowadays it is extremely important because the nature told us as it comes in the form of COVID-19, and it is again reminding us that you have to be very, very safe, then only you become healthy. Okay, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, so by this, these are some measures, these are some activities or the precautions to improve the safety. So common safety measures we are understanding, like chemical analysis, destructive testing of the sample. So we talk in a descriptive manner. So this is the what is the safety measure. The next question come why it is so important. So when working in a lab, it is important to be familiar with all the equipments you are handling, and actually what equipment you are using and surrounding the equipments you are having. You have to take care of that also, because what you are using the equipment, okay, if you know how to handle it and what steps to be carried out, it's okay. But you should know nearby your equipment you are doing and nearby the equipments which are, if the factors which you are using to handle the equipment while working, you have to take care of the surrounding also. So it is important you to be familiar with the equipment in your working space, not only one equipment. Okay, I'm telling you, this is the one, not only one equipment. You are knowing that I have to do this titration in the chemistry, so I'm just um, having the glasswares to use it, and then just after the completion of the experiment, remove from it. No, you have to know its surrounding, the space, what type of the equipments you are using, as well as surrounding what are. Even if you don't use it yourself, it is crucial to be cautious of what other researchers, co-workers, or your, I think so, in the lab, you are working, the other researchers or like the co-workers are there using other equipment. So you have to be familiar with that. So by becoming familiar with the laboratory you are working in and always following the proper safety procedures, what is instructed, it always helps to prevent or eliminate the hazards. The accidental hazards never come by telling. It is always by the carelessness, the ignorance, and I think so. No, if we, what happen if we do once? I will do for once this kind, and tomorrow I have to complete my experiment, and I don't bother. Okay, so these kind of a attitude is not required. Definitely, when you enter your lab or a laboratory, you have to be prepared accordingly. What you targeted, what while working, you have to know, you have to familiar with the lab. That's why when in the starting, when we start our lab, I think so, you also, when you enter first time in the lab, your teacher or the instructor just familiarized with all the equipments and having a visit in the lab. Yes or no? Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
you have your visit first time. You have to just go. This is the instrument. Yes, this is the distillation assembly. This is uh, the fume board. The vapors are to be passed on. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So definitely, it's a first time visit only to familiarize the lab. You have to work in this. So that always have a prevention, and you will also know the proper steps to take in unfortunate event that something does go wrong. And labs are always designed with the safety in the mind, and the accidents can happen, which is why it is best to be prepared for the worst. If we are working on, and if something, yes, happen accidentally, you have to be prepared accordingly what to do next. That's the thing. Yeah, if it is, yeah, we are taking precautions while all the things we are doing, still the accidents happen. So you have to be prepared if it happens, what to do next, and what kind of a first aid you have to apply. So this is, don't become, after something happens and you are uh, not able to do something, so you have to be prepare yourself for that also. This is also uh, in the measures it is there. Okay, so reason for compromise safety, that I was telling you, why the students and the teachers just go for compromising the safety. Do you know? Yes, overconfidence is one of the factor. Sometimes, if I know the process and the steps for the this upgraded by the, okay. So overconfidence, it happens. I'm knowing everything. I don't know. Tomorrow I go to the lab and do it. Okay. So it should not like that. You become so much overconfident in yourself that you can do the mistake. Overconfidence led to the mistake. So first thing is overconfidence. The second one is the defiance. What do you mean by defiance? Anybody know? Defiance, this word, have you heard before? Anybody? Okay. Defiance means when you are in a group and you are having a community, ignorance means I don't bother, okay? And I'm restricting, I do not follow the rules in a group. In a group, I get the power. And I think so, two, three students, if they combine, and then today I'm not having a lab coat, so you also not having, we make a group, we do not follow the rules, we go for doing uh, the work. So it is also a very very dangerous. Defines in a group, we get the power and we restrict to follow the rules. Ignorance is somehow related to one another. Carelessness, sometimes, yes, what is instructed to you, sometimes what happened, you are doing the experiment, okay, and what I feel, yes, so much excited the students are, and they just, what they are doing, they are not interested in that. They have to go to search on what other equipments are to go for handling that also, what is this. So sometimes this kind of work led to the carelessness. What you are assigned the work, you are not bothered, you are doing, you are exciting to know the other. That led to the carelessness. The work stress, due to the fear of not meeting the target, sometimes the stress we are feeling. So actually we are in a hurry. Okay, the stress is of completion of the target, and then completion, for that we are in so much hurry to do the experiment and complete it. So this led to compromising the safety. And poor planning and hygiene, again an important point. We are not so much properly planned for that experiment, and we are not bothered for the hygiene. We have not wear it, the lab coats or the goggles, which is definitely required for that experiment. So these are the important area where we have to look on, and we do not go for compromising it. Okay, while working. Okay, so now it comes what is completed, why it is completed, and how to do. So the principles of the safety, there are 5 principles I have pointed out. So the practice safety, need to know to practice it. It comes in your daily practice form. Otherwise what happen, yes, if you once you do, second time you ignore, the third time maybe uh, your the problem occurs. So it come in your practice. Practice means once you do, the second time, third time, as you do, it become in your routine how to, when I can in just suggest the others also as same, you have to practice. When you do, then only you can aware others, be concerned about others. This is also nowadays what happened. We are, this is not only the safety for yourself, you have to save in the have you traveled in the aeroplane, what happened, you have heard from your air hostess, just first take care of yourself and then help others. Yes, yes or no? Have you traveled there? Have you heard what advice being given by the air hostess when you are traveling in the aeroplane? So take care of yourself and then concerned about the others. Just because you know, doesn't everyone knows. What does it mean? If you are knowing it, okay, if you are knowing it, suppose I am knowing this is, these are some precautions we have to take in this experiment carried out on while working. So if you are knowing it, you have to concern for the others also, as same they have to practice. Okay, understand the hazards associated, means what kind of prevention you have to start. The prevention is always a key, always. And know what to do in emergency. This is very, very important, because sometimes when such kind of thing happen, because definitely uh, 1 out of 100 times or 1,000 times it can happen. So you should know what to do in emergency. Sometimes what happen, we can't able to think in the emergency case. No, no, no. You have to keep your mind open while in emergency. This is very, very important in any kind of burn or any kind of gas which is evolved in the laboratory. So how to stop it, how to handle it, what first aid you have to apply. Report the hazards and hazardous conditions. Never leave a hazard or a potential hazard. So for next time, if you are noting down this can occur the problem, you have to note down, and for that experiment, and always tell others for it. So let's start what would be the safety practices. So the preparation of training, This is the one important practice. Um, the training and SOP. What is SOP? It's the standard operating procedures. Every experiment or the equipment we are handling is having the standard operating procedure. So suppose we have an instrument like UV visible spectroscopy. We are using it to analyze our sample. So it is always having a procedure, operating procedure, with having a booklet, a manual, how to start the equipment. Okay, sometimes these all instruments require 30 minutes preparation. Once you have to start the equipment, and then you can have not only start and use your sample. No, it is to all the steps carried out to handle that equipment. It is under the standard operating procedure. So the preparation of training is very much there, the SOPs, safety arrangements while handling, while doing it. And this is the one and more the important point here, the waste disposal. We have a, yes, while working in a lab, you are having various kinds of the waste and how to dispose it. It is a very, very important measure to be taken up, and a correct way of, because glasswares are there. The glasswares we have, if the equipment is not working, you have to, yeah, electrical equipments are there, how to, the wires and needles, the capillaries. So how to dispose it? Sometimes your chemicals, yes, the chemicals are very hazardous chemicals. You don't have to just dispose it in the sink. You have to be take care how to, and different kind of the waste, because if you directly uh, just dispose it in the sink, the harmful chemicals, it directly mix with the water, and mix with the water, it is going to be pollute the environment and other the species in the ecosystem. So this is very, very definitely being a practice. The crisis management. If you're not having the appropriate equipments, you have to manage it. Management is to be there. So we have to prepare all these kind of the training, the SOPs, the safety arrangements, the waste disposal, and the crisis management. Okay. So uh, in a working in a lab, you should have the information and the training on the general lab rules. The first and foremost training should be of the general lab rules. You must have find in the labs do's and don'ts. Yes, what you have to do and what you have to not do. Yes, do's and don'ts. So general lab rules training must be there. You have to follow that chart, always been there in the laboratory. Personal hygiene, it being instructed. Yeah, you have to be take care individually, how to look at the personal hygiene, the housekeeping, the cleaning of. This is also one of the important uh, point here. Housekeeping. If you are not bothered, your lab is not clean, but if you are working in it, you have to take care, and also just inform others for the cleaning department or the instructors that this is not properly clean. And while after working or completing your experiments, your duty to just clean up your area. This is always I found in the students. I really when the first time they visit in the lab, we just inform them Now you have to work in this lab. You have to make it feel like it's your lab, and you have to keep clean, because next time you come, what you desire that you have your clean area, there you can do the next one. So it's your responsibility. After just completing the experiment, you should clean your the whole, whatever you have used, the equipments. You just keep your reagents, what you have used, at a proper place. Sometimes what happens, the students ignore. Okay, we are in a hurry and we are going, we have overtime, the lab time is over, uh, they go on. But this is not to be done. Okay. So housekeeping, we should talk on protective clothing and equipment. Clothes are very, very important, what you wear, and you have to take care of what kind of the clothes. And you have your lab coat. Beside that, you are not to wear the nylon clothes. So it's a protection you have to take care while handling which kind of uh, the the gas or electrical equipments, or the chemicals. So the chemical hazards, the chemicals, you have to be there always in a rack. You have seen the chemicals, or they are to be properly labeled. You have to see while, if you are working on, yes, uh, the chemical, the acids or the bases. So you should know that what kind of the labeling it is, and how much it can cause the hazards. Physical hazards, if something happened that you have to take care of. Yes, this is again an important. Ventilation, always being checked in the while working. I think so. Uh, you have worked on the radical testing. If somebody worked on radical testing, acid and basic radical testing, anyone? Do you know that second group testing, second group radical, which require H2S gas, hydrogen sulfide, ionic compounds, anyone? No. So yes, the hydrogen sulfide, when you have your this testing, it's all around the hydrogen sulfide gas. It's a rotten egg smell, just uh, all around it comes. So proper ventilation should be there, otherwise the suffocation, the problems, and very much allergic persons are there which is having the problem, so they affect it. So ventilation should be proper, that should be checked out. If you are doing yes, the vapors arises, the harmful, the corrosive vapors, that should be properly uh, removed from the lab, and proper ventilation should be there. Emergency response, exposure monitoring. So we should look on what kind of the measures, or the monitoring control is lacking. Okay. So this is should be done a proper training on this. The training should be done in all areas. Rules, hygiene, personal hygiene, that training always required. A lab instructor or a teacher should instruct you with this. And housekeeping, the clothing and equipment, chemical hazards, physical ventilation, emergency response, and exposure monitoring. So this area should require the training. The training you are required to receive include the information of physical and health hazards of the chemicals that are stored and used in your work area. Your supervisor should provide the information on the lab specific procedures and safety. So lab standard operating procedures. Okay. and detecting the presence or the release of the hazardous chemicals. You should know if you are working on a chemical, it must be how much hazardous. So that would indicated by the sign. Management and disposal of the hazardous waste and materials. How to manage as well as dispose. So this always the training should be given initially for that experiment. So general lab rules. Okay, the SOP. Now you become familiar with the SOP and the personal protective equipment PPE. It is called PPE, and you should carry your protective equipment for using that chemical. Okay, the storage, how sometimes you have your iodine in the brown bottle. Iodine should be there. How to use the iodine, because iodine is highly vaporizable. So it should be properly open. It should be in a brown bottle, and it should be properly open, and then in the absence of the sunlight, its solution to be made. So in handling the iodine, it is very much important that how to break it, that and transfer it and make the solution. So definitely you should know about the iodine when you are using. So where whatever the chemicals you are using, that requires that proper procedure as well as the protective equipment. While if your drop just flow and come on your clothes, so that would be require protective equipment. You are ready with that, so that any of the drop will fall on, it should fall with the protective equipment. The storage requirements, how it is stored. Sometime, yeah, the temperature, external temperature. Definitely the cold storage. We have the liquid ammonia, which is how it is very much required for cooling. So definitely how to handle such a kind of a chemical, liquid ammonia. So you should be very much PPE, your protective equipment, and just transferring your chemical from one place to the another, and from the storage, from external temperature, that also you must know it. Then only it is to be done. It is not having any kind of flammable uh, components around it, otherwise it can lead to the fire. The waste disposal procedures, the procedures to be followed in the event of the emergency. So this all rules should be there. The lab rules. Avoid working alone in the lab. Sometimes what happens, researchers are doing research, and they are just having they do not go with the time if it's spare, because if we start the working, the researchers goes on, but they have to think after the 5 o'clock or in the evening sometime. Yeah, if they want to remain and work in the lab, you should be in a, you should have your lab instructor, or uh, yes, two or three students around, then only you keep your working there. Otherwise, uh, don't just decide to work alone in the evening and doing their work. Sometimes this is very, very dangerous. This is not common. You have your appropriate time, take the time for the instructor or the lab, then only you proceed the work. If you must work after the hours or on weekends, make arrangement with the others in the building to check it with you periodically. Let someone know you are working alone. I think so. Otherwise, you cannot plan your working, and you have your arrangements. Avoid conducting hazardous experiments during this time. And don't use, if sometime what happened, the confidence come when you are in the lab. Yes, what happened? Uh, okay, once you have your result in one experiment, you are very much overconfident. I can do this also, I can do. So such overconfidence should not come in your mind. Always take the advice and inform your instructor, your teacher. Yes, this experiment I want to do. So mm, by the agreement or by the information, then only you can proceed it. Do not uh, go for most hazardous aspects of your work during regular work hours when there are others also present. So you have to take care when you are using with the hazardous chemical. Uh, if you are having more people surrounding and working, so at that time you won't uh, have your this carried out the hazardous experiment. So now it comes to the personal hygiene. Okay, so this you should follow, everyone should follow these uh, measure. This is an important measure. Always remove gloves before leaving the lab. Okay, what happened? We are having your PPE kit and you are having gloves, you are having coat, you are having your eyeglasses working with. So after working, after working, you have to remove that kit. So the gloves should be removed and wash well before leaving the lab. If even if it is only for a short break, this is very, very important. What happens sometimes we have a lunch break. Okay, we have your this, we have done this 3 steps. Suppose 6 steps are there, 3 steps we have performed in the experiment, and after that we have a break and then we have to continue. So suppose a lunch break comes or break comes, you have to eat before that. So and then you have to come back and do the work. So you have to leave the lab even for a short break. You have to remove your kit. You have to wash your, clean up your hands properly, not only by the simple water. No, this is kind of, by the COVID-19, we always now very much having the practice of using your soap. You just go for washing your hands, yes, up to 20 seconds. Yes, it is very, very much essential for the COVID. Even if you are working in the lab and going for a short break, you have to wash your hands properly and just remove the kit and wash your hands. Then only you can have your short meal. Avoid inhalation of the chemicals. Sometimes we are so much excited. Yeah, sometimes what happens, few chemicals, vapors are coming very, very, yeah. In the diagnosis, in the test, yes, some like vinegar and such kind of this by the smell test, they can be diagnosed, but it is not like that. You have to by the inhalation, you have to just diagnose all the chemical. No, avoid inhalation. The ammonia is too. Sometimes you are only working with the ammonia, you can feel that its vapors just go to the your strike your mind and have a severe headache with that. So don't do this. Avoid inhalation of the chemical. Use soap and water, not the solvents, which may enhance the absorption of the chemical by the skin, may be toxic. Wash with a mild soap and the water, and whenever any chemical comes in the contact with your skin, you have to continue, you have to go for your rinsing your skin with the water at least for 15 minutes. Okay, And do not sniff a chemical in order to identify it. Never. For identifying, we do not go for inhalation all the time. Yes. So this, you have to remove your kit, whatever you are wearing, before going for a short break. Even you have to wash your hands, avoid inhalation of the chemicals. Yes, no food or drink is allowed in the lab or in a chemical storage area. Sometime what happen, we are having a oven inside and fridge usually. So what happens, sometimes it's too hot, we just put our bottle in the fridge and just use it and drink it. And this kind of the activities are not being allowed. So researchers are also very much advised, don't go for any kind of a food or a drink in a chemical storage areas, or in the lab. The chemicals are there in the fridge also, we have put the cooling, uh, the chemicals even in the oven. So various the work the researchers are doing, they are putting their chemical there. So avoid this thing. Okay. The application of cosmetic products in the lab is not being permitted. Okay. So this you have to keep in the mind, whatever the cosmetics if you are handling. So they may be the flammable. So you have to avoid such kind of product. Use of tobacco products prohibited in the lab. And this is nowadays, it is totally, yes, never pipette any chemical by mouth. Okay. You have your pipette by the rubber cock. You can use that. Don't go for pipetting out the chemical by the mouth. Okay. So you have to be take care this. And the long hair, if you are having, it is to be tied properly. It is to be having the two plates. It should not go for touching the areas. So tie long hair back, remove the jewelries, any kind of jewelries which are not being allowed. So you have to be, and don't wear, yeah, skirts and such kind of the short uh, clothes. You have to be fully covered. Use your leggies or pants which are not made up of nylons. So this also very important, very important, because these things we are not in your regular practice when working as a any, if you are the biotechnology student or a chemistry, or any, if you are working on, even while this kind of training or somewhere you go, there also what the instruction being given, there also you should follow and make others also follow. Okay. So the housekeeping, I told you, keep access to emergency shower and eye wash clear at all times. So we have in the lab emergency shower. It sometimes burn if it in the cloth or a lab coat, the burns or the fire can catch up. You have to uh, go for the emergency shower. You go for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, all the water just stop your that burns. Test emergency shower and eye wash weekly to make sure that they deliver continuous clean and lukewarm water. So it is working or not. Sometimes it is there in the lab. Yeah, we are thinking that everything is okay, but when real needs come, what happens? Oh, actually, when the thief come in the house and just steal everything, and we have a camera in our house, but at that time it was not working. What happened? What happened then? है ना? Only at that time it stopped working. So you can identify your victim. Never. So that is there. If you are having the shower is there, or we are having the important emergency equipment. So it is working or not. Who is taking responsibility? Yeah, you have to check it very, very clear if you are working there. Okay. Keep work areas free of clutters. Sometimes, yes, in the sinks or in the dustbins, it should be very, very clear. So you just inform others also, or the instructors, for keeping them clean. Otherwise, the work wouldn't be successful. Okay. So keep all stairs, corridors, stairwells free of equipment, boxes, chemicals, and everything. It should not like everywhere you have your boxes or sometime there. So you have to keep at their place. Food and drink should never be brought into the lab. Always keep in the mind. You have to have your meal or a drink. You have to take a break, clear it, and then after return to the lab and continue or proceed. To reduce the chance of breakage and a contaminated oven, never use a mercury thermometer in an oven or incubator. If you are working using oven or an incubator, it can have a chance. Yeah, mercury thermometer you have in it. Mercury is highly poisonous, so you have to avoid this one in the oven. If you are working, you have to check it out. Or incubators, biotechnology students knowing about the incubators they're working on. So you have to very, very careful in this case. Okay. The chemical storage area should be frequently monitored. The broken glasses or leaking containers. Okay, either the areas are having very much, rusting is should be there, or the rack rusting you have observed in the chemical. So you have to be very, very immediately inform the instructor or a teacher. Yes, this is the problem going on if you have seen it. So it should be very, very much clear that if it is broken, it should be discarded properly, the glass. And if the container is leaking or the chemical is coming outside, you have to immediately inform. Ensure that all the containers are clearly labeled with sometimes what happens, some if you are not finding any kind of a labeling in that chemical, you have to be very, you don't use it, you inform it, and then uh, don't go for using it that this is only this. So you have to avoid this. Okay. Like this is also if some ignorance is there, so it should be rectified where the ignorance is. Don't ignore from your side. The chemicals must be put back into their proper storage location at the end of the day. This is the one. This is whose responsibility is this? When you use it, and then you have to keep back to their place, because next time when you again use or somebody else will do it, find it in a proper place. It usually not happen, and it's usually the students do not think it's become a duty or it's a work of a student. No, no, no. When you are using it, it should require, this is your uh, the moral duty in the working in the lab. You are using that chemical, you have to put back to its proper place. If you sometime, from your side, the glassware open uh, what you are using, it should be broken down. So it should be properly informed, and it should be discarded properly, like broken glasswares, microscopic uh, slides generally often while working. It should, yeah, if you are working with a glassware, it always break down. Yes. But what's the important point? Yeah, you don't have to do by your simple hand. You are trying to just put the broken glassware into the dustbin. No, dustbin. It should be at a proper discarded place, glass. So you should, sometime what happened, the glass break down and you are very much having a fear to tell the instructor or to tell the teacher. They just go for the fine. So what happened, you start doing for yourself and just throw it in a dustbin. Is it correct? No, it's not. Because in the dustbins, that's not the proper place. All the waste material uh, should be discarded. That is the glass. It should be discarded properly, otherwise it may harm others. Okay. So whatever the broken glassware disposal, where it is, there you have to put it. Clear? And waste collection containers must be clearly labeled. Suppose there are, yeah, this is the waste, it should be different color. Suppose we are having the the dustbins, they are also the properly colored. This is for the glass, we can have that waste. This is for the chemicals, this is for this. So it is properly labeled, so that you also find very easy to dispose. Otherwise, you are searching on. So that will reduce the problem. And compatible with the chemical, clean and dry. And the lids are there, the cap are there, that can be sealed out. When the waste collection containers are full, fill out an outline or online hazardous waste pickup request. You can do this also when it is filled up or you are not having any um, other source to have your waste. So you can have it. So this is, you can see the disposal part. Okay. So uh, you want a short break for, or I can continue? Yes, any question? You're not asking questions. What we have discussed up till now, what do you think? These measures are very important. Yes, I can see the name Richa, Anjali, Neha. Yes, Neha is continuously, yes, thinking over these safety measures. Definitely.
Yes, ma'am. These safety measures are they're really important.
Okay. Yes, you have worked in the lab. From which stream you are?
Ma'am, from chemistry.
Okay, chemistry. Yeah. So, what being instructed first time when you enter in the lab?
When we entered the lab, the instructor was told us wear your lab coat and be handle the chemicals very carefully.
Yes.
Don't
So
throw any
you
don't throw any chemical by your own way. If you want to throw, if you मतलब अगर आपसे कोई चीज टूट भी गई है तो आप पहले
तो भी
बताओ कि आपसे टूट
बताओ।
गया।
बिल्कुल, ये तो बहुत जरूरी है कि बताना है। कभी कभी हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि बहुत डर लगता है बताने में, तो करने लग जाते हैं। या सम टाइम इट हैपन, एक मोर्टार था। मोर्टार में जब हम वो लीव्स को क्या करते हैं, ग्राइंड करते हैं, है ना, एक chromatography आपने सुना होगा शायद. So
Yes.
one it mortar goes it goes it broken down, and one student what it would collected that mortar and just throw it in the dustbin. Sometime after some time, or when the sweeper come and take out that dustbin, and they inform, yeah, what is this? Then we come to know, yes, oh, this is broke down. But sometimes this led to have the problem to the student, even the problem who is carrying or taking it, the sweeper can have the problem. Okay. So this is the one of the important where whatever happened, the glassware or something, you must tell others what is going. Don't
Not
try to.
not only glassware, मतलब sometimes student also get damaged by, तो वो छुपा लेते हैं टीचर्स से कि हमको चोट लगी
Hmm,
है, लेकिन उनको इमीडिएटली बताना चाहिए कि हमको चोट लग
बिल्कुल
गई है.
बिल्कुल, जिससे कि आगे भी अदर स्टूडेंट्स के लिए भी हम वो हेल्प कर पाए. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके लिए ही, बाकी के लिए भी एक रहता है ना कि और भी काम करेंगे अगर ऐसा हो गया, तो वी कैन हेल्प देम ऑल्सो. ये सबसे जरूरी बात है. और जब भी हम इस तरह से, अगर हमें पता है ये है इस एक्सपेरिमेंट में, तो हमें जरूर ये शेयर करना चाहिए. क्या होता है कभी कभी, what we know, we do not want, if I know this thing, I don't want to share with others. So that attitude should not be there in the same lab if you are working on, if you are. So what if your friend it is there or not, it's not the meaning of that. If you know and something is happening, it is not the other person is not doing that wellness, so you have to share among them. Yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
very good, Neha. I'm just have a good interaction as you like chemistry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what do you want to become? You are doing this. What your uh, this ambition? What would you like to become? Yes.
अगर रिसर्च की फील्ड में जाने का इंटरेस्ट है.
Okay. Very good. The search may there are so many options now, and you can go on with this post graduation. Welcome. You can explore the science definitely. Okay. Anjali,
Yes, ma'am.
how are you? Yes. What do you think up till now? What we have discussed?
Ma'am, basic safety measures we should apply in lab, like ma'am wearing our lab coat, how to handle any instrument like heating any
Have
substance
you
in
missed
test
your lab
tube.
coats? Have you missed your lab coat in experiments?
No, ma'am.
No. Very good. Sometimes what happened, the student missed the lab coat. So what they try to do, they don't come in the lab or either become absent
Yes,
sometimes,
ma'am.
or they just fear, don't tell the ma'am and yes, instructor, or either what happened, that's very easy not to go to the lab. So is it fine?
No, ma'am. They are losing their experiment.
Yeah, experiment, it's very yeah, you have a loss of
And ma'am,
experiment.
second thing
You
is
can
that
arrange, if
what?
you can arrange, you can.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. And ma'am, we should have knowledge, means basic knowledge about chemicals we are having in lab, like
Definitely.
yes, ma'am, which is toxic or which is inflammable.
Yes. These are there in the chemical, it is always being written. So try to understand that sign and the chemical, how much it is going to uh, have the hazard or the problem.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
how much toxicity is to be there. So definitely by handling this and housekeeping, that I have told you, this is very much important. You clean your area, yeah, you have to keep that also, but just uh, have the thinking it's your lab, yes, and you
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
do and come back and doing as you find now when we come to our home. I mean, if it is fine, clean, so
Yes,
what
ma'am.
comes in
Everything
the
is
mind?
in its own place.
Yeah, it's become very, when you have your working and you find it very clean, na? When
Yes,
you
ma'am.
come it, it's a pleasure. It's become very, we become so happy. Yeah, we are doing this.
We could
I'm
find
more
our
excited,
things very easily.
very
It is
easily, and definitely the clean environment
yes,
always motivate us to do the thing. Otherwise, if it is not clean, what comes in the mind? How to do this thing? Yeah, how we can manage. So these points come in the mind. So always try to clean up your area while you put the chemical at the place. These small steps, very
yes, ma'am.
important. Okay, nice to talk you with Anjali. Richa is also continuously uh, having this all safety practices. Richa,
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Good
Uh,
afternoon, ma'am.
how my good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, absolutely. So, what you have taken your safety measure while working in the lab?
Okay, so ma'am, firstly, we were told to wear the lab coats properly. It should be very clean. Organize your table where you are working. Table should be sterile
Yes,
before you are working,
yes,
and make sure that all the equipment that you are taking before performing any of the experiments, they are sterilized, so
yes.
as
Very
to
good.
avoid any sort of contamination while performing the experiment. And
Mm.
be aware of what you are doing while you're handling any of the equipments. It's better not
Yeah,
to
you
talk to
should.
any of your co-workers while working, so as to avoid any accidental uh, situation,
Yes,
because you have to be very aware at every particular time what you're doing while
definitely.
handling or while mixing any of the chemical. Concentration should be kept in mind.
Concentration, definitely, you have to keep in the mind
Yeah.
because that affect your results also, or
Yes, ma'am.
definitely the accidental effects. So yes, what do you, in which stream you are, Richa?
Ma'am, I'm from biotechnology.
Okay, biotechnology, very good. And Anjali, you are from?
Ma'am, in life science.
Okay, life science. So that is we are talking about, and next comes disposal. Let me continue the disposal part, or anyone can ask the question. You want a break, short break?
No,
Yeah,
ma'am.
drink
You can.
water. Yeah, okay, I can continue. Okay. So disposal of empty chemical containers. The water soluble non-regulated chemicals like sodium chloride, magnesium sulfate, it should be, yes, uh, separately discarded. And water soluble regulated chemicals like it should be separated here. And here ethanol, formalin, methanol. Okay, so it should be properly, it should be separated out in which category it is. So they are to be disposed differently. Non-water soluble chemicals like phenol, oils, and some alcohols, so they are to be separated, discarded. So definitely it should have the different category, the solubility, water soluble or water insoluble chemicals. Now, PPE, personal protective equipment. This is very important, as you know, general clothing requirements that I have told you. Long pants, long sleeve shirts should be worn while working. Long. it should be fully covered, and working with the chemicals or with the animals also if we are working on, and avoid wearing excessively loose or baggy clothing. Means if it is not, yeah, it's too much large or loose, that should be avoided. That should be very much not required in working the lab. Lab coats and the aprons while working, always chemicals or animals. The chemical resistant coats are recommended for particularly hazardous. Sometimes so much hazardous chemicals are there. So there are, suppose we are having some radioactive chemicals, so radioactive substances are to be handled with the other PPE kit or other the lab coat or with that. So for the radiations or the radioactive substances, that should not be allowed. Their specific PPE should be taken up. Full length rubber, neoprene, or plastic aprons are always being recommended when there is a risk of splash or a spill. So, where there is a risk that it can be spilled out or come out, so we have the rubber or plastic aprons should be there as a kit. So you have to follow accordingly the chemicals you are working with. So if there is having a specific PPE for it, then we have to follow specifically that also. Okay. Use gloves. Gloves that are appropriate for the material. Gloves are very much you have to do while working. Yes, your hand are very, very important. So heat resistant for handling the hot items. Okay. While we have to taken out the substances from the compound from the glassware from the oven, you have to take it. This kind of the gloves, heat resistant gloves, and liquid nitrogen gloves are different, like protective gloves. We have cryoprotective gloves for the liquid nitrogen, are extremely cold liquid nitrogen. So for them, it is different chemical resistant material depend on the type of chemical being used. So if they are having different uh, resistant gloves, so you have to carry those gloves. Consult your supervisor, or you can have your uh, some excellent information if you can have from your website. Sometimes it happens when we are having a website. Now we are having this kind of the facilities online also. So if you are having a website, you can contact for your lab supervisor there also. Understand the limitations of the gloves. Like chemicals do break through the material over time, and do not reuse disposable gloves. If they are disposable, so once they are used, they cannot be reused. So you should know how much can be, if we are knowing that this for this particular chemical we are using this glove, you should know that how long these gloves can be used, or if they are disposable, it can be reused. So you should know about the gloves what you are using. Change the gloves oftenly. If it is yes, 2 times, 3 times oftenly, you can change your gloves. So you have to take care for the gloves. Eye protection. This is generally we have the gloves, we have a lab coat always. For the eye protection, I think so nowadays due to the online, also the webinars, or we are working the online learning platform. So it's definitely required there also. The eye protection is one of the important uh, measure you have to take care of. So the safety glasses, definitely, and we are avoiding these things, but you don't have to avoid. you have to take care of your eyes, definitely. And nowadays, for a long term, this online, uh, we are going with the online and offline both. If you have to take care of eyes there also. So safety glasses, there is no chance of a small splash to the eyes, such as when opening bottle or a tea. Yeah, it happens. So it goes for the safety goggles are there when using a highly caustic chemicals in a large volume you want to use. So we are having safety goggles. Use full face shields. The shields are there for the COVID-19 also, as same as the shield is definitely in radiations, the harmful radiations we are working on with that. So you have to use the face shields when working with a large amount of hazardous chemicals, when you need to protect your entire face, and removing the item from the liquid nitrogen that I have told you. Liquid nitrogen when transferring from, uh, yes, transporting from one place to the another. Definitely, if you are doing this, or you must have your goggles, you must have your face shield while doing this. So definitely the face shields, goggles, this all protect your face and eyes specifically. So in this PPE kit, this should be done. Regular prescription eyeglasses are not considered the effective eye protection. The eyeglasses usually which we have weak eyes are there, so we always have the eyeglasses. So that if we are wearing that eyeglass, and if the student is wearing that eyeglass, so they think that this can be a protection while working. No, it's not the proper way of taking this as a protective measure. It is not a protective measure, your eyeglass of that particular number. It should not be taken in the consideration, because sometimes if you are wearing that eyeglasses, you can have I'm wearing that glass, it's not the problem. No, not at all. You have to take your that in the kit, what is you are handling with the chemicals. So you have to go for the goggles over the glasses, or buy prescription safety glasses over it. So care must be taken when wearing contact lenses. If you are wearing contact lenses, if you are wearing eyeglass, you have to cover it with the goggle or the another goggle to it, or you just remove and you can have your safety above that. But for the contact lenses, it is not being the appropriate protection. The contact lenses, the goggles or the safety glasses must be used. So this is the one of the most important point where we think that eyeglass is also a protective measure. We can have it in the lab, but it is not so. Okay. So you have to take care. Never wear sandals or open-toed shoes in the lab. Non-permeable shoes are preferable, and wear low-heeled shoes for the proper comfortability, non-slip soles. If handling large volume of hazardous chemicals or solvents, wear rubber boots. Okay, so shoes definitely, when we don't think over the shoes, but definitely not so much high heeled, or the sandals, the high heel sandals, and the non-permeable shoes, which should have the open areas, open mesh, that should be there, the porous. So that kind of shoes are more comfortable in working, as well as avoiding the hazards. So animal workers with the allergy should wear the dust mask when cleaning the cages. This is for the animals where we are working on, and working in the areas where cleaning activities are occurring. Use fume hoods to reduce exposure. Fume hood is always being there in the lab when we are having the exposure to the chemicals. So just check it out. The fume hood is working. Your harmful vapor should escape out from the laboratory. So that also being involved. Always inspect your PPE prior to use. What you use, safety glasses, goggles, and what the specific coat, lab coat, and the gloves. Look for cracks, holes. Sometime in the gloves also you find which is made up of rubber or that, so it is having cracks or the weak spots. So this kind of the you must replace your that gloves definitely. So store PP always from sources of the contamination. It should be having a different place where you have to wear it and keep it, or otherwise you just have your lab coat or the gloves or the glasses in at one place where it should not be contaminated. Keep a box of the gloves always direct from the direct sunlight and heat. You should keep it away from, as these can break down the polymer and makeup. It can have your cracks and the spots. So you have to take care of. Now, this is very important, chemical hazards. It can fall, you should know about your chemical. It is flammable or not, corrosive or not, reactive chemicals, and you have to take care for the health hazards. So this 4 points you have to keep in the mind for the chemical hazards. Okay, so you should know if the flammable chemicals, there it's flash point. Do you know anyone flash point and fire point? If you are knowing it, the flash point is always flash and fire point. It is written there in the flammable chemical, and it should matches that. Yes, it should not be match up with the operating temperatures and the boiling point and the flash point. This is to be seen. Yes, that if we are working or having this temperature in working on, so you have to be take care that otherwise it catches the fire. It is definitely flash and fire point is to be checked out for the flammable chemicals, and it should be contained in the various sizes containers, like 500 ml the plastic, we have the container or safety cans. So in this it should be properly placed, flammable chemicals definitely. As storage and labeling, flammable are color coded red, must be stored in a flammable cabinet and away from the source of heat. So definitely this is the sign of the flammable. And if it is there for those chemical and the gases specifically, so it should be stored in a different container with a different color. We should have oxygen gas, yeah, argon gas. That should be the uh, that should be require hydrogen gas. So it is to be kept differently. Flammable, self-reactive. So this is the sign to have the indication. So to handle it also, we should take care. Never use an open flame to heat flammable materials. Use hot water bath, oil bath, heating mantle. So always when you are, yeah, you if you have worked on, to find it when we are heating not directly. So that is always for the flammable chemicals. We do not heat it directly. We heat it indirectly, and indirectly we use water bath, oil bath, or heating mantle. So it is to be taken care of. Transfer from 5-gallon containers to a smaller containers in a fume hood or approved flammable liquid storage room. Handle only in the area free from ignition. Do not transfer the class 1 flammable liquid into an exit way. So any kind of flammable material should not come near to it. We have to take care. We do not go for direct heating. We have to go for indirect heating. And you have to go for taking or in transferring. You have to take to the smaller containers with a fume hood there in a storage room if you are transferring. So it is very much important to handle with the care flammable chemicals. Corrosive chemicals. Yeah, corrosion is which kind of uh, the deterioration, I think so. It takes time. It can enhance in the presence of water and the moisture, we can say. So the corrosive chemicals cause the rapid erosion and destruction of building material or metals, burn, irritate, or cause destruction to the organic tissues, the skins, eyes, lungs, as well as stomach. It can cause such kind of the corrosion. So you have to know the location and proper use of spill kits in your lab. Never use combustible or organic materials to clean up the spills. So the corrosive chemicals are to be handled. The it should also be color coded. This kind of corrosive sign is there to just this kind of a chemical should be corrosive. So you have to be take care. Okay, and such kind of the chemicals should be stored separate from the bases, keep below the eye level. And this acids, uh, if they are acids, they are labeled like this. This is the labeling form, WHITE. It is actually color coded. You can see this is the called color coded, and bases are to be dash 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 dash. You can find the difference. This is the separation of the chemicals, the corrosive chemicals of acids and bases. So acids are to be, we can easily understand these are the corrosive acid, like nitric acid. So it should be labeled like this in the color manner. And this is the example of coding of the corrosive acid and corrosive base. So we can easily understand this is uh, the corrosive chemical. So this should be handled with the care. Never pour water into acid. I think so. This must be telling you in the initial level only that don't go for adding the water into acid. Always add the acid to the water. We have a container of water in a large amount, we add the acid to it and slowly. Otherwise, it goes on. It what happened when you add water into the acid? The highly exothermic reaction occurs and open the bottle of the acid slowly and carefully. So acids are to be added. Otherwise, acid burns. You are handling with a concentrated acid. So immediately you have to rinse out 15 or 20 minutes with the water continuously and then uh, have your first aid. Wear PPE gloves definitely to handle with the acids. Conduct all the work with the concentrated acids and base in a chemical fume hood. Whenever we are taking the acid concentrated form, the bases, you have to just take out in a chemical fume hood. Check the location of eye wash and shower to begin the work, means acids. Okay. So some acids require special handling, like hydrofluoric acid, picric acid, perchloric acid. So for those, you have to take care. Again, you have to check the fume hood, and there only you can handle these acids. So definitely acids handling the concentrated form, this should be very much required. Never mix acid waste with the solvents or metal containing solutions. Never dispose the acids or base down the drain unless they have been neutralized. So definitely we do not go for acids in the sink and or the base directly. you should go for neutralization, and then it is to be discarded. Otherwise, what happened, we are using dilute form. Dilute, you might have used the dilution or dilute form of the acids and bases, so that should not have the problem. But the concentrated one you do not discard. Like non-contaminated, like free of other hazardous chemicals, the acid waste may be neutralized and disposed of down the drain. That would be, the pH should be 5 to 10, otherwise it goes for contamination to the water. Corrosives that have the other hazardous properties should not be disposed down the drain even after the neutralization, like hydrofluoric, fuming, and phenol. They are not to be by the neutralization, they are to be discarded differently. Okay, so they are very, very highly corrosive, hydrochloric and fuming nitric acid, phenol, perchloric acid. So they are to be, this to be, the corrosive levels should be differently discarded. So for the simple one, you can go for neutralization, but again, the pH is important. And then for the hydrofluoric, nitric, phenol, and perchloric, very, very harmful corrosive chemicals, they are to be disposed in the different containers and not directly to the water or sink. Okay, so empty bottles should be triple rinsed with the water, and before the disposal, reuse the bottle. Sometimes we have some chemicals inside the bottle, empty bottle, you have to check it out, and then it is to be discarded. Okay. So the chemicals which will vigorously polymerize, this is the explosive sign for the chemical. You can see here, these are very, very reactive and oxidizer. It can explode. So you should check this kind of a chemicals, which is to be very dangerous, which will vigorously polymerize and easily decompose, condense, and become self-reactive under conditions, and highly, highly explosive. So this is the explosive and this is the oxidizer, which is to be checked out. Oxidizers can cause the other substances to burn more easily. So definitely a very, very reactive and explosive chemicals, example like nitrate salts, sodium, potassium, silver. So the reactive chemicals are again separately coded and stored away from the materials. And to handle such kind of reactive chemicals, you should consult with your instructor or teacher. Protect from the exposure to the conditions that would make the stability there, otherwise the reactivity occurs. Air stability, water stability, heat stability, then only you can use these chemicals. So they are very, very hazardous, and handling these kind of the chemical you should not handle with your own, and you should take the help or consult with a teacher. The chemical that can cause adverse health effect, either the short term or the long term, like they are, like, benzene. Anybody know about benzene? Benzene is banned now as a solvent. It is a useful solvent, but it is very carcinogenic. That's why it is nowadays, it is not allowed to carry out as a use of a solvent. So definitely the toxins, carcinogens, and this kind of toxicity you should know about, like mercury, other metal compounds, formaldehyde. So that directly can have your health effect if you are working on. So be cautious for such kind of chemicals, and not so much overconfident in using the every type of a chemical in the same way. That is the meaning. Every type of a chemical in the same way we cannot treat it. We should go for the divisions. That's why the divisions are corrosive chemicals having the adverse effect, these chemicals, the toxicity and the carcinogenic, they are the poisons like mercury. It should not be taken in the oven and uh, the refrigerator there should be taken care of. So these kind of chemicals are to be very, very hazardous and having the adverse health effect. So health hazards are color coded blue. Health hazard should be separated from other chemicals. So it should be separated. This is the acute toxicity sign. This is the danger. You can see this is the sign of carcinogen, how you can identify it in the chemical. Understood? This is the biohazard, infectious agent. And this is the irritant, the skin and eye sensitizer. This is the sign. So this you can diagnose what kind of a chemical, what it is telling by this sign. And is it a health hazard, or is it the toxicity, the carcinogenic, how much it can cause your health. Always wear appropriate gloves and other suitable. No hazard presented. The chemical you are working, possible route, the skin absorption should be avoided. Exposure may be acute, and be aware of possible adverse conditions for it. Physical hazards. Physical hazards include the compressed gases, electrical equipment, lasers if you are working on thermal hazard by heating. The analysis should be done by heating or radiation. These all are the physical hazards. So the compressed gases in the cylinders must be properly placed. Caps in the gases should be, yes, its pressure should always being checked by the regulator, and make sure your regulator and supplier lines are in good condition, otherwise it goes on increasing its pressure and can have your accident. Never use rigid plastic tubing which can shatter if the pressure limits are exceeded. When turning on the gas, ensure that flow valve is open and adjust the flow valve with uh, the regulator. Turn your head away from the tank. So these are the actually written when you are handling the gases. So it should be checked accordingly. Electrical equipment are always being checked. If it is not working, electrical equipment, sometime the problem occurs. So don't try to solve the problem on your own. Okay, you just inform the electrical it is not properly working. So always inspect electrical cords. Do not use if they are cracked or have exposed wiring. Very, very careful for the electrical equipment. Never use electrical appliances near water. Sometimes the water leakage is there. So it should not be near to your electrical equipment. So you have to check care of. Avoid excessive use of daisy churning several cords turning together in the electrical part, and the electrical equipment should be handled with very care, so that would occurs physical hazard. The gases, the lasers. If you are working with the lasers, your supervisor must provide you with the operating procedure and safety information. Otherwise, you have to work with, yes, your instructor and the teacher. Laser is very, very harmful. You have to go for your kit, PPE kit for eye protection. Everything is required for that. The thermal hazards, both hot and cold objects, you should go for. Use heat resistant gloves for your hot items. This If your heating is done in the furnace, you have to go for your gloves. Use caution when heating liquids on the hot plates, burners. If you are using, inspect the tubing of the burner. And you are using heating mantle, there also you have to check it. If it is going above and you are just catching your beaker or conical flask, so the heating should be proper. The flammable liquids are to be heated properly using condensers. Otherwise, the problem can occur and your physical hazard causing. This autoclaves biotechnology, students were knowing that you have to work on autoclaves. You have to wear the heat resistant. This is the thermal analysis you have to be take care of. Wear the face shield, rubber apron, heat resistant gloves. Liquid should be this superheated and bottle can explode, so you have to be aware for that. Do not stand in front of autoclave door while opening it. Stand behind the door. Otherwise, it goes for bursting with the steam. So when we are handling the autoclave, yes, these all are the important points. Ultra cold freezers. Wear the gloves like 60 to 80 degrees centigrade, ultra cold freezers we are working. Bare skin goes for directly attack with the cold, with the temperature decrease. So there also your fingers become damp otherwise. So for the cold liquid nitrogen that I have told you, insulated and the cryoprotective gloves specifically for the liquid nitrogen is used. So it is to be handled with the care. Otherwise, the problem occurs. Radiation, again, very important. You are working with the radioactive elements, so radioactive or radioisotopes, using both sealed and unsealed sources. So definitely they are to be very much handled with the care. And ventilation, we are having laminar flow hood, fume hood, biosafety cabinet are there, which is protect us the harmful vapors to it. This is, you can see here the chemical fume hood. This is the chemical fume hood in the chemistry, if you have seen. And we always keep the chemicals, the hazardous chemicals inside it. So this goes on protection here. So the fume hoods, definitely for the chemical one, protect us from the hazardous chemical. The conduct all work at least inside the fume hood. This reduces the chance that vapors will backwash out of the hood due to the air movement. Okay, so do not store the chemicals in a large amount. Do not block the vents when you are doing actually the experiment. That would be carried out the use. This is the ventilation. Yes, this is very important now. Emergency response, fire, if it is occurring, what you do in the fire. So if your clothing catching the fire, you have to roll to just put off the flame, immediately notify the supervisor the incident, get to the safety shower if the chemicals spill all, and 15 minutes by the water you have to carry out the rinsing. Remove the contaminated clothing immediately in the shower. And then you have to notify, call somebody, or you have your first aid always in the lab. So immediately take the first aid and use after this the burning stops. We have the creams and the burning creams that you can use it. Immediately go to the eye wash station if you are having some um, eye splashes, and flush the eye with the water again at least for 15 minutes. Hold the lids open, like hold the lids means like this. You have to open and wash continuously. Seek the medical attention and notify the supervisor. immerse the burned area in the burns, like, and you have to run the water as soon as possible, and then you have your first aid. If you don't know how to clean up the spill, you have your emergency, then call someone who take care of, or a doctor. If the material is toxic or hazardous, leave the lab immediately and avoid being exposed to the toxic vapors. And emergency, you have to call someone emergency number, or you have to take the help, move away from the site of the hazard, immediately go out, follow the instruction of emergency personnel, alert others to stay the or clear the area. Everybody goes out to the lab. Broken mercury thermometer, that also you have to remove it. Do not let the people walk through the contaminated zone. Their mercury can readily be vaporized and throughout a lab by the people walking on the spill. So do not attempt to start cleaning up. No matter, it is not going to. You just go there and inform to have this broken mercury, which is to be discarded properly. Isolate that area. Do not let the people walk to that area. Okay. So definitely it is very, very directly harmful, this mercury thermometer. And this would going to be the problem. Exposure monitoring, and there is a reason to believe that exposures may be the excess of the permissible exposure levels. So to have an exposure assessment conducted, contact with the Department of the Chemical Hygiene. So this is emergency response we have taken up. And always, definitely, when you are safe, then only the everybody can stay healthy in that sense. And this is the one and foremost important slogan, that you have to be stay safe and then stay healthy. Thank you. So any questions? Got it? Emergency, you have to go for these all emergency points. And
Yes, ma'am.
the emergency response, what you do if you're, yeah, in front of your eyes. Sometime it happen while working, when you're working in the lab, what you have to do. And this all what the first aid, or first and foremost step, you have to keep in the mind what type of the emergency come up. Either it is burning, either it is spilling of the chemical on the hand, or some, yeah, some body parts. So what type of a chemical burn it is. So continually the burning, or the eye, the drops come just fall into eye, or the acid burn it is, or the base burn it is. So definitely it is to be identified, and just go for immediately stop the working there. And have your first, sometime unconsciousness also appears by inhaling some vapors unconscious. When the person become unconscious, what you do? What do you do? Yes. Sometimes what happen, they are allergic persons, and if they become unconscious, what kind of the step you, what kind of a help you give in such case?
सबसे पहले तो मैम उसको जिस मतलब दिक्कत हो रही है तो उसको सबसे पहले उस केमिकल से दूर कर दो, उस केमिकल को साइड करो, और फिर उसके बाद अपने इंस्ट्रक्टर को बताओ कि जाके कि उसको प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, और उसको मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट देने को, मतलब उसको लेके जाओ ताकि वो मेडिकली ट्रीट किया जा सके उसे।
हाँ, जल्दी से जल्दी उसको उस एरिया से और वहाँ के जो भी वेपर्स है वहाँ स्टॉप कर देना चाहिए वर्किंग, है ना. It should be stopped and then just inform immediately and take up with the area from that, and then it is to be treated accordingly. जल्दी से जल्दी उसको वो मिल पाए, उसको हेल्प करना चाहिए. और रीज़न जो उस पर वो काम कर रहा था वो इमीडिएटली स्टॉप करना चाहिए, जिससे सराउंडिंग में फिर वो और स्प्रेड ना हो, है ना. Yes, very good, Neha. So definitely unconsciousness or burns or such kind of emergency comes. So what would be your action or your help should be? So that definitely requires uh, the measure. And definitely when you are working on, if you are taking all the precautions, no worry at all. If it such accident happen, you should be prepared for that. Okay, so any more questions you want to ask? Got it?
No, ma'am.
So now your as the steps are more clear, handling the instruments, handling the chemicals, seeing the signs, you become more aware or not? How to look at on the chemicals and hazardous chemicals, and seeing the chemicals, what type of the problem can occur, and we should go for handling, because doing by learning by doing is one of the practice in the science. We always learn by doing it, and I know that if you do it, then only the more exploration occurs. So definitely if you go for the safety measures and on handling everything, you can have your results also proper, your that uh, the environment also becomes so healthy when you try to use all kind of practices as an individual. So I'm saying that all the best from my side. So you want to become, yeah, explore your science as a biotechnology or the chemistry. So you do, and hope all your dreams come true. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank you.
you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your nice information on the safety measures.
Thank you.
I'm sure that students must have enjoyed, and they
Yeah.
must know new things, because basically since these participants are from the post-graduation level, and I believe कि अब तक शायद उनको थोड़ी सी समस्याएं हो सकता है इस बारे में ज्यादा जानकारी ना रही हो. But when we are working in the lab, first of all, it is the first and foremost requirement that we should know that what kind of safety measure we should take. और ये certainly हमको ग्रेजुएशन लेवल से जहाँ से हम लैब में इंटर करते हैं और थोड़ा हैजार्डस चीजें हैंडल करते हैं, अभी हमको ये चीज पता हो जानी चाहिए. लेकिन ठीक है, हम धीरे धीरे कम से कम पीएचडी से पहले अगर हम इस चीज को हमारे बच्चे जाने तो आगे और भी अच्छा रहेगा. तो मैं फिर से अपने पूरे स्ट्राइड परिवार की तरफ से मैम आपका थैंक यू करता हूँ. Thank you so much that you give
Thank you, sir, for inviting me, for interacting such good students and having the interaction for the lab procedures and safety measures.
Thank you, ma'am. Though we were supposed to meet physically here in offline class, but question is that because due to Corona, we could not have this offline class. But I hope student must have enjoyed. और होली भी छुट्टी भी वो एंजॉय कर सकते हैं और क्लास भी एंजॉय कर सकते हैं. तो इस कोरोना ने कम से कम हमको एक नया ऑप्शन और दे दिया है ऑनलाइन क्लासेस का.
हाँ, जिससे लर्निंग स्टॉप तो नहीं हुई, ये तो बहुत ही
Exactly.
अच्छा ये हो गया कि हमारा जो है टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस कंटिन्यू रही, तो ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म से नहीं तो बहुत हम जो है लैग कर जाते, पीछे चले जाते।
बिल्कुल, और आई थिंक अब तो टीचर्स तो खैर यूज टू हो ही गए हैं, बच्चे भी बहुत सारे यूज टू हो गए हैं ऑनलाइन।
बहुत यूज टू हो गए। हाँ, विद इन 1 ईयर मुझे लगता है बहुत सारी चीजें स्टूडेंट्स ने, टीचर्स ने, सभी ने अपने जो एफर्ट्स सीखने के लिए किए हैं वो बहुत ही और हेल्पफुल रहेंगे आगे भी। वी हैव नाउ बोथ द मोड, ऑनलाइन एंड ऑफलाइन। तो प्रैक्टिकल के लिए तो ऑफलाइन जो है वो अभी भी जरूरत है। हाँ, वेब जो प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट है वो तो रियल लैब में ही सारी चीजें समझ में आती हैं। yes, for the theory we can go for the online. So
जी मैम,
happy Holi, sir. Happy all, happy Holi to all students also.
यू टू
हैप्पी
हैप्पी होली मैम।
Have a safe Holi again. You have to take care again the safety measures, keeping and enjoy your festival.
थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर गिविंग द टाइम, थैंक यू।